Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another episode of Bugrock of the Week. Today we'll be taking a look at the newest Nether update beta for the Bedrock edition of Minecraft, specifically beta 1.16.0.59. This is actually a rather small beta, however it does have a ton of really nice bug fixes in it. There's a ton of bugs for the actual new Nether update features, such as world generation, Nether generation, piglins, zoglins. There's also nice bug fixes for the bugs that were introduced in these betas, like fortune not working, and that has now been fixed. And there's also some really lovely bug fixes that affect older bugs in the game, such as Ender Dragon issues. Overall, really solid little beta, so let's go ahead and check out all the nice things. Oh yeah, there's also been one bug fix that does affect mob farms on the Bedrock edition. However, I'm absolutely not worried about it, and if you're curious about that, it's at the end of today's video, so stick around for that if you want to know about the new changes to mob spawning. It's honestly just one simple bug fix that we can easily work around, and it's not going to have any lasting impacts. So of course the first bug that we're going to take a look at being fixed in today's video is Fortune 3. This is definitely like one of the most important bugs in these betas, and it has been properly fixed. As you can see, Fortune 3 now works properly on all tools and all forms, and it just works great. So we got 57 diamonds from 25 diamond ores. You can see that this works on lapis, redstone, emeralds, coal. So as you can see from mining all of those ores, we got a ton of different drops from them. We can compare those to the drops in the chest, which you get without Fortune 3. So as you can see, Fortune is back to making a massive difference in the amount of drops that you get from mining ores in the game. This next bug fix makes me personally very happy. Zombie piglins will now be completely immune to fire. Of course, in previous updates, they were not immune to fire. So as you can see, lava fires, normal campfires, soul campfires, soul fire, magma blocks, fire aspect, and flame have absolutely no effect on these guys whatsoever, which is really nice. And of course, I myself am a pigman, so this means that I should be fully immune to lava, or not. Well, maybe there's still some issues with this bug in the game. Moving over to Java Edition for just a second, where things are like a million times more ambient. I'm here to demonstrate one small thing with soul soil and soul sand. If we light either of these on fire, as you can see, we will get soul fire. I believe that might be a bug. I think soul sand is supposed to have red fire, but soul soil is supposed to have blue fire. Regardless, if we go over to Bedrock Edition, you'll see that no matter what we do, both of them have red fire. So completely the opposite of Java Edition. Now, this was marked as fixed for the 1.16.0.59 Bedrock beta. However, it's still an issue. So I need to go update the bug report, and something needs to be figured out about what is supposed to happen when you light these things on fire. Well, this is slightly weird. I generated a new world, and then when we light these things on fire, now it's all blue. It's very strange. It's very strange. If we place it down, is it gonna still be blue? Yeah, it is. As you can see, it actually does flash red for a second, and then it turns blue. So I'm not sure what's up with that. It's a little bit buggy. Maybe just older worlds will have this bug, but even then it still needs to be fixed. The third and final bug with fire has also been fixed, and this is also like a new feature that's been added to Bedrock Edition. So whenever you have fire tick set to true, a fire that you set will naturally go out over time. It'll spread to wooden objects, and it'll also destroy blocks, which is how it should be. As you can see, that is working as intended. Some of this fire is actually going out. Before, the fire was not going out on its own. But we also have a new mechanic and feature in this little beta as well, having to do with rain. Rain will now actually put out a fire. As you can see, we set it to rain. I have a texture pack to actually get rid of the rain, but as you can see from the floor particles, it is indeed raining. If we try and light some fire, as you can see, that's going to go out as well. And the rain actually has a little bit of a splash radius to it. So as you can see, we have a little roof right here. If we light fire in the middle of that, it's not going to go out. But if we light fire next to a block that's being rained on, it'll actually get put out by that rain. I don't know if this is a bug or a feature or not, but I think it's kind of cool. The little rain is actually splashing over and putting out the fire, which I think is pretty realistic. So new mechanics and new features and a bug fix with a fire spread. Really cool stuff. I interrupt these bug reportings to say if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more of these in the future, then do consider subscribing to the channel. I'm covering most all of the betas nowadays, and I cover many bugs in this series. This is now the 60th episode of Bugrock, where we cover bugs. So if you like bugs, learning about bug fixes, or just staying on top of things in general, then consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. And otherwise, let's get back to the video. Another really awesome bug fix is the fact that you can now use the warped stem and crimson stem to make planks, and those planks will of course be useful for all kinds of different crafting recipes. They basically act as normal wooden planks in Minecraft, so you can now make sticks out of them. Of course, you can now make, you know, shovels and tools and all kinds of other different things that you typically expect. You can of course make chests out of them too, and basically you can craft all the things that you would expect with your normal planks. So the full crafting, you know, functionality of these things has been added to the game. This makes surviving in the Nether a much more feasible option, and also in general just makes these warped and crimson stems far more practical and actually useful to farm in the Minecraft game. These things have been slightly nerfed, however, because you can no longer use the crimson stems or warped stems in a furnace to actually smelt down items. As you can see, you can't even cheat and like craft them into slabs or stairs or whatever. However, you can still craft them into wooden tools and then smelt those, or you can craft them into sticks and then smelt the sticks. So it's still usable as fuel, you just have to craft it into something else first, which is perfectly fine. And the reason why this change was made to make these not a furnace fuel is because these things don't burn. They are completely immune to fire because they live in the literal hell dimension that is the Nether. They cannot catch fire normally, they can't be destroyed by fire, so there's absolutely no reason why they should burn in a furnace and be able to be used as fuel. They also went ahead and fixed the nightmare-inducing bug that is the sheep's head being completely detached from their body while eating. Lovely bug fix, there'll be 100% less nightmares from Minecraft now. Speaking of nightmares, the cave sounds of Bedrock Edition have been tuned down. I haven't heard one the entire time I've been recording this video. I'm down here in the caves, I haven't heard one yet either, so it does appear that they finally fixed the bug where, you know, cave sounds were playing non-stop, which is really nice. You'll now hear less cave sounds in your world, making them even more scary when you do eventually hear one. Another bug fix is that we now have the proper crafting recipe for chains added to Bedrock Edition. As you can see, you can now craft chains, which is pretty lovely. Now, it turns out that this was actually in the previous beta, however, it was in experimental mode of 1.16.0.58. So not only do you have to go through the rigmarole of signing up for the beta, you also have to toggle on experimental mode inside of your world settings just for a crafting recipe for a block. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what it was. Another really nice bug fix that's going to help with melon and pumpkin farms is we can now have opaque blocks like observers and, you know, solid blocks right above melons and pumpkins, and they will still grow just fine. And also the observers will actually detect the melons and pumpkins growing, as you can see there. So this is going to add a couple different possibilities for melon and pumpkin farms on the Bedrock Edition. Now, we are still missing the feature of, you know, observers being able to detect melon and pumpkin stem changes. As you can see, the stem is still changing directions. It's not going to detect that. So hopefully, because they're working on this bug, maybe they'll consider adding that as well. That would be very nice, and that would really open up a ton of different opportunities for melon and pumpkin farms. This is legitimately a very cool looking bug fix. Armor will now render properly on a wither skeleton. Look at this guy. He's the most bad person, skeleton you've ever seen. Although his arms do look extremely cute in those oversized sleeves, I gotta say. But look at that. The armor actually scales up to like fit the wither skeleton as well because they're so much taller. It looks so cool. I would not want to see one of these guys in survival. So they did fix the rendering of armor on wither skeletons. However, they haven't quite fixed it for evokers and a couple other mobs as well. Pillagers and vindicators and witches also need some help with the armor rendering, because all of these guys are actually wearing full netherite armor, as we have proven in another Bugrock of the Week episode. So I guess I'll add that to the bug report, or maybe make a new bug report for these mobs not rendering armor. Yeah, so nether fortresses just got a million times more intimidating. This is where those full netherite wither skeletons should live. Look at this, it's beautiful. Take away the night vision and it's kind of even more scary. There's been two very welcome changes to the generation of these ruined bastions. First of all, we now will have the proper magma cube spawner generating in these places, which is really cool, meaning that we can now of course make the magma cube farms. As you can see, lots and lots of magma cubes running around. That's going to be quite fun in survival mode. And the second thing is that they have added parity for what actually generates in these loot chests here in the treasure rooms of these bastions. So if we're going to control pick block of that loot chest, you can see that that'll give us one with plus of data, and then we can more or less see what will generate in these loot chests. You have a pretty high chance of getting a enchanted piece of netherite gear. You also have a pretty decent chance of getting some ancient debris or netherite scrap. And overall, the loot is pretty okay. As you can see, you can get some diamonds, and it should more or less be the same loot that you get on Java Edition, so that's a good thing. So those are all the important bug fixes that affect the new features in 1.16. However, this beta also has a couple of bug fixes for older features in the game, which are still equally important, so I'm going to mention those quickly as well in this video. The first one is a very, very welcome change, and that has to do with the hopper hitbox. So as you can see, if you actually look at the hopper, it has its full hitbox. As you can see, the lines go down and around. However, if you look to the side of the hopper, you can actually open up chests and stuff behind the hopper, which is really nice. Before, you could never actually open that chest because the hopper hitbox was in the way. This is something that was changed on Java quite a few updates ago, and I'm very happy to see this finally added to Bedrock Edition. This is going to make so many different contraptions and storage systems just that much easier to use, and also of course increase parity between the two versions in a very nice way. Now, as you can see, again, when you're looking at the full hopper, you actually do get the full hitbox going all the way around the full block. I don't think that that's quite intended, but it doesn't necessarily matter, so it's kind of good as is. And just so that you understand a little bit more about what I'm saying, as you can see, when we look at this hopper, it doesn't give like the full outline of the block all the way around. It just gives it the outline where the actual hopper is. So there's no extra outlines where there shouldn't be, and I think that that's kind of ideal and what Bedrock Edition should also have. Another bug has now been fixed with the Ender Dragon, so now when you're fighting the dragon and you die in the end dimension going back to the overworld, the Ender Dragon will no longer reset, regaining all of its health, which is a very much appreciated bug fix, and that is actually all three of the major bugs with the dragon fixed. It no longer resets, regaining all of its health, it no longer duplicates, and it no longer has the insta-kill dragon's breath, which is amazing. That is three massive bugs with the in-game boss finally fixed in the 1.16 update. These bugs have been plaguing Bedrock Edition ever since like Bedrock Edition was a thing. It's very nice to finally see these things be fixed. And of course, this is going to make the dragon fight a little bit easier, a little bit more fair, and of course bring it in parity with a Java Edition as well. Pathfinding has also had some updates and some changes. As you guys might know, if you've messed with bees at all, these guys get stuck on a lot of blocks. And that's not just the bees' fault. All mobs in the game have some pretty terrible pathfinding issues. I've made 2 entire videos completely dedicated to pathfinding issues. However, it does appear that the bees will no longer get stuck on glass panes, fence posts, or stairs, which is really good. However, they are continuing to be stuck on slabs, so I guess that is another thing that needs work. However, it's still very nice that they no longer get stuck on these things. And of course, in the previous Bugrock, we talked about how bamboo is no longer going to make mobs get stuck on it. So as you can see, bamboo is completely invalid. Mobs don't even try and pathfind through it or around it at all. So you can actually make a mob cage just by having like 4 pieces of bamboo surrounding it. this bee can very easily get out of this. However, it's choosing to not pathfind through bamboo. So many good changes are being made to pathfinding. Overall, 1.16 is absolutely killing it with these bug fixes. Whoever's making these bug fixes, like, just much thanks. Thank you. You're great. Keep doing it. Okay, so there is one final change in this beta that does have some important consequences for mob farms. However, it's not actually that big of a deal, and I'll explain why in just a moment. To explain the basics of how mob farms work, you have the surface spawns, which is of course the surface level of the world, basically where the player is most of the time walking around, and then you have cave spawns, which is underground in your caves. Now, with mob farms, we typically use this slab and solid block method of allowing us to farm surface and cave spawns in the same farm, significantly boosting your rates. And for the majority of players who build mob farms on Bedrock Edition, surface spawns inside of your mob farm is absolutely massive and super important. That's going to be providing you the majority of your drops, simply because there's no despawning. Mobs get stuck in your caves, they take up your cave cap, so you don't get much from your cave spawns, but surface spawns usually crank super good. However, we won't be able to farm surface and cave spawns using this particular method anymore. It's still possible, but not using this method. It's going to take a little bit more work. So that's going to break a lot of the current mob farms in Bedrock Edition. However, I am not worried about it, because a simple observation I'm making while doing this test is that mobs are spawning like hella super fast. I've done this test many times in this exact void world over many updates, and it usually takes a minute or more to get any mobs spawning on these platforms. However, as you can see, they're actually spawning way quicker now. There's been no word in the changelogs about any form of, spawning changes. However, I think that something has been tweaked, because mobs are spawning way faster. So we may or may not see a difference on our rates, even if they do remove the surface spawns from our current farms. I think we're going to be perfectly fine. And also, do keep in mind that Java parity is coming to Bedrock Edition when it comes to mob spawning. So regardless, our mob farms are going to be broken. It really doesn't matter. We can very easily design new ones. They're going to be far easier to build, take less effort, and be far more efficient. So I am honestly not too bothered by this change. Yeah, just to demonstrate these spawning speeds, we'll kill them and then we instantly get spawns right after them, and it's actually like super quick. Also, to describe a little bit more about how the mob farms typically work and why this could be a big deal in some cases to some specific people, is that the surface cap for mobs is 8 mobs for the surface, and then you have 8 mobs for the cave spawns as well. So typically you'd be able to have up to 16 mobs in your mob farm. With this change, you'll only have 8 using the current method of pushing down the surface spawns into your farm. Again, this isn't a big deal. We can very easily redesign, and overall, I'm absolutely not worried about it. So today's episode has gotten a little bit longer than expected. However, we did cover 15 very important bug fixes for the Bedrock Edition, and the 1.16 update is seriously shaping up to be the best update that Bedrock Edition has ever received. I'm seriously looking forward to more of these betas and the full release whenever that may be. It's seriously gonna be so awesome, and I'm very excited for it. Thank you, Mojang, for putting so much effort into these new updates. It's seriously really awesome to see. Anyway, that is going to do it for today's episode of Bugrock of the Week. I do hope that you have enjoyed. Of course, if you have, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly share it around with those who you think might enjoy it as well. And if you're new here and you want to see more episodes like this in the future, then of course make sure to subscribe, and thank you very much for doing so. I will see you all down in the comment section, and in the next one, thank you again for watching, and then there was silence.